just died? Wow. I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that.
And with that, we say goodbye to Supreme Court Justice. What's her face? I can't even remember her name. People say it's anti-Semitic if you say you didn't like her because she was Jewish. I didn't like her because I think she was a cow. Donald Trump has come forward saying he'll probably announce Supreme Court pick by Saturday. I think this is something he'll move quickly on. Don't think he must wait too long, because you never know what can happen in the future. I mean, the 2020 election is very important, but changing the way the legal system works, and I'll go a little bit deeper into that now with George Soros and the amount of money that he's funneled into the lower courts from the beginning. I mean, we got documents going back to articles from the Washington Post going back to 2016 talking about how George Soros won district after district after district judges, not how the Democrats won or the people won, how George Soros won, because of the sheer volume of money.
Speaker Gingrich, I know you have a final thought for us.
Yeah, look, the number one problem in almost all these cities is George Soros elected left-wing, anti-police, pro-criminal district attorneys who refuse to keep people locked up. Just yesterday, they put somebody back on the street who's wanted for 2 different murders in New York City. You cannot solve this problem, and both Harris and Biden have talked very proudly about what they call progressive district attorneys. Progressive district attorneys are anti-police, pro-criminal, and overwhelmingly elected with George Soros's money, and they're a major cause of the violence we're seeing because they keep putting the violent criminals back on the street.
I'm not sure we need to bring George Soros into this.
I was going to say you'd get the last word, Speaker.
He paid for it. I mean, why can't we discuss the fact that millions of dollars he spent?
I agree with Melissa. George Soros doesn't need to be a part of this conversation.
Okay. So it's verboten.
All right, we're going
to. Soros, through the Justice and Public Safety PAC and other groups, has been spending millions of dollars on prosecutorial races in recent years, with a number of beneficiaries making headlines since the election. St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner, who was boosted by Soros in her campaign, drew controversy when she announced her office was bringing felony charges against Mark and Patricia McCloskey, the couple who brandished guns outside the home as protesters marched by in June. The McCloskeys have said many times they were defending themselves. With tension high in St. Louis and other cities over race and law enforcement, they said the crowd of demonstrators broke an iron gate marked with no trespassing and private street signs, and that some threatened them.
The circuit attorney has apparently decided that her job as a prosecutor isn't to keep us safe from criminals, but to keep the criminals safe from us.
Mark McCloskey and his wife Patricia have been charged for the incident you see here. So what do their charges entail? News 4's Ashley Lincoln spoke with a legal expert. She's live in downtown St. Louis tonight.
Well, Steve, Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner filed one charge of unlawful use of a weapon. Now, that is a Class A felony. If convicted, they could serve as little as 1 day and at most 4 years in prison.
It is an intersection of someone's Second Amendment rights and the other person's First Amendment rights.
Mark and Patricia McCloskey are seen in these images pointing weapons towards peaceful protesters in late June. In a Fox News interview Monday night, Mark McCloskey again stressed he was protecting his property.
And we're not going to apologize for doing what's right. We're not going to back down, and we're not going to move.
If this was any other person, especially of color, that would have done what they did, they probably would have been sitting in jail by now.
Monday, Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner deeming their actions unlawful, filing a charge of unlawful use of a weapon against the couple. In a statement Monday, Gardner says she's open to recommending the McCloskeys to participate in a diversion program to reduce unnecessary involvements with the court.
Okay, so that's basically, that's one. Let's go to the next. U.S. Marshals Service Director says Portland protests hijacked by violent extremists. Another high-profile prosecutor who has been backed by Soros in the past is Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx. Foxx drew national attention when she dismissed the case against actor Jesse Smollett, who had been accused of faking a hate crime against himself. The case was later taken over by a special prosecutor who filed new charges. Foxx is seeking re-election this year and already won the Democratic primary regarding ongoing protests in her jurisdiction. She has said that her office will lean towards dismissing cases coming from protests of curfew violations. Mayor Lori Lightfoot imposed a curfew between May 30th and June 6th after a George Floyd protest. The question that comes down to is it a good use of our time and resources? Foxx told the Chicago Sun-Times. No, it's not.
So we'll start by asking Kim Foxx, would you like to open up by talking about that? What do you want to say about the Justice Smollett thing? And I guess the big question is, having seen what you said to the other paper's editorial board, is why can't you just tell everything about what happened that day and not say that Dan Webb is doing an investigation?
Yeah. So, one, thank you for having us all here. I appreciate the public's curiosity and actually concern about how this case was handled. As I've said previously, we dropped the ball in the level of transparency that we should have had around this case. And immediately after this case was resolved, I said that I welcomed a non-political review of how our office handled the case. I called for, back in April, for the Inspector General to come in and look at our office in the handling of that case from top to bottom. At that time in April, I said that I would not discuss what happened so that a review could happen that would be thorough and that the public could trust the integrity of that review. During the course of waiting for that review to happen, Judge Tuman appointed a special prosecutor to this case, and Dan Webb was appointed back in, I believe, August. And so, for the same reasons, making sure that the review of this case that the public wants, and they want to make sure that it is done at the utmost of integrity, not wanting to talk about the case, where there are witnesses who will be interviewed, where there are people who will be talked to, that anything I say will influence how that case is reviewed. And so that's why. I certainly understand the frustration and would echo it is difficult even to be in this position and know the facts and circumstances and be unable to talk about it until the review is done. But that's why. But at the outset, I want to say that our office has prided itself on being one of the most transparent prosecutors' offices in the country, putting every piece of felony case level data on an open data portal, availing ourselves to people being able to see what we're doing and receiving criticism for that. In this particular case, we did not meet the standard of transparency that I hope this office to have achieved.
Is it just transparency, or did you make other mistakes?
You know, I think the review will reveal ways that this office could improve, whether it's the process by which we handle conflicts or recusal. Since that time, since this case has come into be, we have hired a new ethics officer who has an extensive background working for the Attorney Registration and Discipline Commission, clarified how we do recusals within the office. And, you know, there will be things certainly that we'll learn from this that we will hopefully do better by.
Looking at her term in office, a report from the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund found a 13% decline in guilty pleas or verdicts in felony cases and a 39% increase in dropped or lost cases after Foxx took over in 2016. San Francisco District Attorney Judge Barbara, another beneficiary of Soros Paid contributions, recently defended the movement to defund police. In a discussion with Representative Ayanna Presley D. Mass earlier in July, Bowden questioned whether money going to police was the most effective use of taxpayer dollars.
This is about bringing all of San Francisco's leadership together to say we stand against police brutality. We stand in favor of having law enforcement agencies that are held to a high standard of integrity and of professionalism. And I do believe it's something that should garner substantial support from the entire board, as well as all of the city leadership. This is about having a city that lives up to the values and standards that all of us expect it to live up to.
And we will have to go to Public Safety Neighborhood Services Committee so people can public comment and voice their opinion about this resolution.
I don't even know what to say about that. Majority of voters reject reducing police funding despite national push-pull. Is there some other way we could spend this money that would make us safer or do a better job of achieving the goals that we have? Bowden asked. He went on to say that policing and incarceration are tremendously expensive and are failed responses to what we are trying to deal with. Bring back the death penalty. This week, billionaire financier George Soros celebrated his 90th birthday. That's a big number, but it's dwarfed by another Soros number, 708 million. That's the cash his two principal foundations poured out just in 2018, the latest year publicly known, and precious little went to any ballets, symphonies or art museums. Instead, it went into politicized groups like Planned Parenthood to fight for abortions, the Brennan Center to tear down voters' ID laws, and to all purpose left of center powerhouses like the ACLU and John Podestra's Center for American Progress. John Podesta, isn't he like a wrestler or something? WrestleMania? But anyway, how big is 708 million a year in American politics? While the Democratic Democratic National Committee and the Republican National Committee combined took 2 years, 2017 and 2018, to raise 502 million, or compared Soros' 708 million to the giving done in 2018 by libertarian billionaire Charles Koch namesake foundation, 128 million. In addition to Soros' 708 million in charitable givings, there are the millions he gives to his top lobbying shop, the Open Society Policy Center, which, as Influence Watch notes, was the second largest source for federal lobbying in 2019, bigger than high-spending lobbying groups like the National Association of Realtors, the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, and the American Hospital Association. That's right, giant multinational corporations can only look on in envy when they see the fortune the Soros empire gets to spend on DC lobbyists. In fact, Soros Group roughly stripped the lobbying done by the likes of Amazon, Boeing, and Lockheed.
I think that I've been blamed for everything. I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.